You're listening to Quantum Conversations with Karen Curry Parker. Join us as we explore new frontiers in consciousness, science, and evolution. And now here's your host, Karen Curry Parker.
Sometimes we believe pain is necessary to heal. We often don't have the faith to believe miracles can happen in the blink of an eye. Modern science shows us that there is, a science behind creating miracles. We are learning that healing, true healing, isn't just about treating symptoms. To truly heal, we have to change the template, the energy blueprint of what's going on in our perception of the world. Science also shows us that we carry in our energy blueprint the vibrational artifact of old pains, traumas, and conditioning from experiences that happened to us over the course of the journey of our lives. Not only that, your DNA is influenced by events that happened to your family, sometimes even generations before you were born. These vibrational disruptions in our natural state of well-being are the root cause of pain, disease, and suffering. We can treat the pain and the symptoms and feel better, but if we're going to really heal, we have to also get to the root cause of pain and clear the disruption that old wounds and energies create in our minds, bodies, and spirits. In Patti Conklin's book, God Within, The Day God's Train Stopped, she explains how to get to the real root cause of pain and suffering in your life, how to change the vibrational frequency of what you're experiencing so that you can restore your energy template to the whole, abundant, and vital state that it was created to be in. In other words, she explains the science behind creating a healing miracle in your life. Hi, and welcome to Quantum Conversations. I'm Karen Curry Parker, and I'm excited today to talk to Patti Conklin. Patti Conklin is a world-class energy healer, a speaker, and teacher who has shared her experiences and changed lives at hundreds of workshops, lectures, and conferences over the last 20 years. She's actually healed over 100,000 people. She is the creator of ColorWorks, a visualization process that uses active vibration within your body to release or heal specific symptoms, emotions, or physical challenges. She's the author of a new book called God Within, and I love the subtitle of this, The Day God's Train Stopped, and she talks about in her new book the power of words over our bodies and what to do when our words cause emotional attachments and create physical blockages that cause pain and physical discomfort and even spiritual and emotional pain and discomfort. Welcome, Patti. I'm so excited to talk to you for many, many reasons.
Thank you so much, Karen. I appreciate you having me on.
So I want to dive in, and I want to take this conversation in a place that we don't often go when we talk about thought forms and words creating our reality. And I want to address something specifically because you talk a lot about words and the impact words have on the body. Talk to me for just a minute about how do words affect our bodies?
Every word we speak and the emotion that we attach to it affects our bodies. And, one of my, I guess the main gift that I've had since a child is to be able to see the words within the body and the emotion that's attached to it, and watching phrases that are repeated over and over again or behavior stores in the body. And the first time you experience an emotion is it will go to the weakest part of the body. Now, I know there's lots of books out there that says, no, anger goes here and, frustration goes here. But in my line of sight, that's not true. It really goes to the weakest part of the body in that given moment. And then every single time you experience that emotion from that point on, you store in exactly the same place. And you get to the point where your words literally begin plugging up your body. And you get to the point where you get the straw that broke the camel's back, and all of a sudden disease forms. And if people understand that disease, illness, even a cold, psychological issues, emotional issues, all come from an emotion. That's the core root. And so in order for your body to begin flowing again energetically, you really need to be able to look at what are the words that you're saying. The phrase, "Oh, you make me laugh so hard it kills me." Your body doesn't know that you're just making a phrase, and your body doesn't know you're saying that to someone else. Your body takes in everything literally, and so your body goes, "Oh, kill me, okay." And it begins the process of shutting down. So every single word you say and how you say it is critical.
So talk to me a little bit about what happens when you get gummed up with words and your body stops doing what it's supposed to do and working in the way that's designed to work.
Yeah, well, the subtle energy field that I believe we came to this planet with is actually in science our immune system. And so when you speak in those emotions, they actually go along the immune system and store in a certain place, depending on what's the weakest part of the body in that moment. And so what happens is you want an energy flow. You want the immune system to flow throughout your entire body constantly. And it really plugs it up. It stops it. So then all of a sudden you get blockages that the energy can't move through. And because energy is not moving through, i.e. the immune system isn't moving through, you start to get disease. And so I always say that you can say anything you need to say with love and respect, even if it's the harshest thing that has ever come out of your mouth. If you're saying it respectfully and with love, then those emotions aren't going to store in your body. They're going to just blend in with the immune system and make it stronger. So it's not that I don't want people to validate how they feel. It's just how you say it, the words that you say it. And if you really look at it this way, Karen, when we look at a sunrise in the morning, if we can see it, but we have no ability to think, to speak, to hear it, it's simply a sunrise. It's our words that give meaning to it. It's like, wow, that was a breathtaking sunrise. I'm so happy I got up this morning. Oh my gosh, it was so cloud covered. I'm just disgusted at myself for getting out of bed. So the body is taking in the words that you're speaking, and it's your words, your responsibility, and how you're describing your world that is so critical to your body's health.
So I have to really, I'm not going to say play devil's advocate because I'm not sure that's exactly the right phrase, but I want to have a conversation about something that's actually came up recently in one of my classes with one of my students. And actually I've seen this experience in my life as well. This student of mine was healing from breast cancer, and got really upset when we started talking about the energies that manifest breast cancer in the body. And she said, I really hate this line of dialogue. She said, I get that there were things that happened in my life that contributed to this energy and created this energy. But she said, I think there's a problem when we start blaming people for manifesting illness. And I'm going to segue for this in just a second and also just share, dear friends of mine had a 16-year-old son who passed away from leukemia. And they are very conscious, very spiritually aligned people, and really withdrew completely from the spiritual community at a certain point because people were telling them, well, you're just not believing hard enough, or your mindset is influencing your son's health, and his mindset isn't contributing to his health. How do we address this with the understanding that you have about words and the body?
Those are two critical questions and awesome questions, because people really do question that whole aspect. So let me start out with your student with breast cancer and being upset with the line of thought. It's remembering this. If I was 2 years old and I was used to the dog coming in and sleeping on my bed with me at night, and that's what I loved. And one day my parents gave the dog away, or the dog ran away. And I was devastated for days because the dog was gone. That's the memory that stores in my body, not the adult memory of looking back at childhood going, oh yeah, well, the dog ran away, whatever, my parents gave it away, no big deal. It is a big deal because what's stored was what happened at the time. psychotherapy is great because it helps us understand behaviors, but it doesn't remove that blocked energy from that 2-year-old. So it's the 2-year-old memory that you're continuing to hold in your cells. And I take it one step further, that the reason we have so much reoccurrence of disease is because we didn't get to the emotional core. We can treat it Western or holistically, but we didn't get to the emotional core. So it's a really important thing to understand that the memory stores in the moment. And you can't rationalize your way out of it and go, it wasn't that big of a deal. It was a big deal as a 2-year-old. And so it's going back with an active frequency to remove that 2-year-old memory, not an adult memory. In terms of the 16-year-old, there are always souls that are here going through experiences and going through life lessons. And typically, when I look at a young man, a young woman who dies at 16 from leukemia, I'm looking at that soul as more of an advanced soul who's willing to come in and teach the souls around it, is coming in for their actual growth. And they can go into pain and they can withdraw for a while, but good always comes out of bad. And at some point, their consciousness will catch up with the soul experience that they just had from losing their son. And it's an awful thing to go through. But all of us come in with time spans that were meant to be here, I believe. And I think that, again, every time we have such a critical loss, it's a growth time. And, I was just with a 35-year-old woman, with a 2-year-old daughter and her husband as she was crossing over. And she said, why am I having to die and not be able to raise my child? And I said, it'd be great if I could give you the answer, but I can't. And for whatever reason, it's time for you to come home, and it's time for your husband and your daughter to continue this journey with the memory of you. So, it's complex situations. And I know people get upset when, we say your words create the disease, because then they assume we're placing blame. And that's not it at all. It's you're not consciously creating your disease. It's the emotions and the words that you've had throughout your life that create the disease.
So how does epigenetics and genetics then play into this as well, or even past lives? Like what if you bring stuff in from before?
That is, I love that answer, or that question. The answer is this. There's kind of 3 predominant ideas of reincarnation. Is one, that the soul comes into another body and you begin another sojourn. Second would be Edgar Cayce's universal mind, that when you pass, your soul goes up into the universal mind. And if you have the frequency of Cleopatra, then you'll have all those memories and you think you were Cleopatra. And that's why 1 million women think they're Cleopatra. But the third one is science. And science has come up in the last 10 years saying, you know what, when you have a deja vu or you have a memory, we believe that what you're accessing is an ancestral memory from your genetic code, from your DNA. And because I see words stored in the cellular structure within the peptide, I tend to go with science, that we're actually carrying over an ancestral memory that one of our ancestors had that was passed down through the lineage.
So in your book, your subtitle is The Day God's Train Stopped.
Yeah.
And you talk about your personal experience of healing yourself from a pretty significant autoimmune disorder. Tell me about the day that God's train stopped, and what does that mean? And did you get off the train? What happened?
Well, when I was 7, I had my first, what I considered a visitation. And I came from a very poverty-stricken area with lots of alcohol and drug abuse in the family. And so I'd never been to church, but I had this beautiful glowing form come in my room and say 3 things, that 38 to 42 would be my greatest growth years. 42 to 62 would be my greatest contribution, and I could come home then if I wanted. But the purpose of my walk was to teach people to become insubstantial without transitioning. And even though I was precocious as a 7-year-old, I didn't understand that. And right before I turned 38, I had a dream. And I was on this train and all sorts of, paranormal stuff was taking place. And there were 3 adults and 3 children, and they were scared. And I kept saying, no, that you don't need to be scared. And one of the men realized there was a horse running again parallel to the train. And so he jumped off to get on the horse to go get help because they were so scared. And the train stopped and everything was quiet. And I turned around and Jesus and Mother Mary were standing there. And that's not usually 2 people I call upon for help. And they were standing there. And Jesus looked at me and he said, we're giving you a choice. You can get off the train and live your life as you've been doing, or you can stay on the train and devote the rest of your life to your work. And I looked out the window and I realized the train was off the track. And I thought about it for a minute and I said, I'll commit to doing my work. And the train was put back on the track and here I am. Yay. So for me, it was really pivotal because I really felt that I truly was being given the choice. And, 38 started and the training started. Within a few months, I had another visitation to move my family to another state. And I was director of a nonprofit, and I called my boss, the international director, and gave my notice. And 5 minutes later after the visitation, and a month later, we were in the new state and I began my work. And it was international immediately. And so from 38 to 42 was so exhausting. And I'm like, oh my goodness, 42 and now work's really going to start? That was just my training period, seriously. And so my work has taken me to 66 countries. And a lot of miles with airlines.
So talk to me about how you healed yourself.
I had both forms of lupus in my late 20s. And I was critical for 3 years, Karen. I had lost my right kidney. I had had a couple of heart failures. I had nerve damage that just even putting a piece of clothing on was just excruciating. And radiation for some of my joints because they'd freeze up. And I was critical for 3 years, and I had another visitation. And Father, what I call Creator, showed me how to use color. And so I started using color, and not a darn thing happened. Like, why are you showing me something that doesn't work? And then I started thinking about the emotional aspect of it. And, friends would say to me, you work too hard. You need to take vacation. And my response would always be, I'll rest on my deathbed. And my body reached a point where it was creating truth out of my statements. And then I went a little bit deeper, and I realized that I was always working in PhD positions with a high school education. And I doubled up in high school, so I graduated early. So for me, that wasn't even legitimate because even though I graduated early, I didn't graduate with my class. And I realized it was self-worth. It was self-worth all the way. And so I said to my body, what color do I need to remove my lack of self-worth? And what color do I need to increase it by 80%? And black was the first color that came into me, and it's typically the color that will come in when you're really ill. And it took me a year, but I finally got clear blood tests, and we test my blood every year, and it's never come back. And doctors, some doctors will say, well, you're just in a long remission. And it's like, no, I don't have it anymore. They had given me less than 4 years to live. And so it was just a process of, am I really going to get in there? And, fast forward another 10 years, it was a tool that I had in my toolbox to start working with other people.
So you called this color work an active frequency to heal. If somebody's just starting off and they're experiencing the impact of words in their body that isn't creating vitality, maybe it's robbing them of vitality, what would be like a good first step where they could start maybe connecting with what they need to release or heal?
If they don't understand the emotion, if that's not on the surface, what they could do is say, what color do I need to bring to my consciousness the emotion behind my illness. And just do, you breathe in through your nose and you bring in color through the bottom of your feet. And in my work, understand that color is just a frequency. It has no attachment to emotions. The black, browns, reds, orange, those are really heavy duty colors that actually do the most work because they're slow vibrations and they literally shake the emotion from the cell. We feel great when we do white, purple and green because those are high vibrational colors, but they move so fast through your body, they don't get as much work done. If they understand, let's say your knee went out and you were in a lot of pain, you could say to your body, what color do I need to reduce my pain by 80%? And, you may get 10 different colors in one breath. And the reason I don't do 100% is most of us subconsciously don't believe that we could just spend, 10 minutes doing colors and we'll be totally healed. So we start with 80%. And because your body will listen to what you're saying, it's just somehow we've gotten away from listening to our body and talking to our body and asking it to shift and creating an active frequency, which would be color and or tone. Crystals, therapeutic touch, Reiki, all of them are wonderful modalities for the exterior energy field, the auric field, but they don't go inside to the subtle energy field. And that's the one we really need to work with.
Beautiful. So, you're talking about emotions and words that are emotionally rooted and the power of the meaning that we give to the words and the emotional energy. We're living in a pretty emotional time right now. If I flip open my CNN news page, which I don't do anymore, I would imagine that I would have a lot of emotions triggered, probably first and foremost, fear. So, given the nature of your understanding of this work, how do you go out in the world and start crafting a different set of meanings so that you're not integrating into your body the energy of a polarized world, of a fear-riddled world, and you can stay centered and grounded and healthy?
Oh, great question. I really think it has to do with your belief, no matter what it is, whatever you believe in, spiritually or religiously, whatever, is moving into your belief system and understand in the construct of the universe, everything's happening exactly the way it's meant to happen. And if I understand that the only person I can control is myself, and the only moment I can control myself is right now. What happened a minute ago is gone, and I can't control a minute from now because I don't know what's going to happen. That if I stay focused that I'm the one that's in control of myself and no one else, it tends to make you start looking at the world of, okay, this is happening around me. I can open up my unconditional love and not focus it on one thing. I can just focus it around the world so that if souls around the world need a little bit of help, they've got my soul to pull from as they have yours, as they have anyone's. So, I do watch the news and people go, how could you do that, and stay centered? And my response is that I watch the news and I see what's going on in the world because A, I've traveled the world quite a bit, and B, because I want to be able to help on a soul level if I can. For souls that need a little bit more energy. When we look at what's going on in the whole uproar and the tension around the world, I think it's an important time to really understand that you can't get mad at a different country or regime or whatever. It's really staying focused within yourself because that's the only power you have is over yourself. And if you allow yourself to go into fear, we're in fear and love. That's it. In spirituality, metaphysics, they tend to say fear is false evidence appearing real. I don't look at it that way. Fear to me is forgetting every available resource. And that resource is the strength I have within myself to make a decision as to whether or not I'm going to go into fear or whether or not I'm going to hold an unconditional space for everyone else. And, long involved in politics for years, and we have our passions about things. But I think that the actual path we're walking is a spiritual one of how do we stay unconditional and live in this world that we have right now? How do we transform that unconditional base into everyday life? And I think that that's what our soul is really attempting to accomplish, is to merge with our consciousness so we can look at what's going on around us. We can do whatever is within our power to help, whether it's volunteering, whether it's, being a big brother, big sister, whether it's looking at some of the volunteer programs in the world, or whether it's getting involved in day-to-day life, on a world level. But if you go into those places understanding that you're the one who has control only of you, you can't control someone else, but you can lead by example. And I think that that's a really critical piece, is understanding that people watch your actions a lot more than they listen to your words. And I would just encourage everyone to hold their own space, understand you can't control, you can't make somebody else do what you want to do. And I kind of take it a step forward, Karen, is I look at, when we were given life, we weren't given meaning to life. That every moment we have, we choose the meaning, and we can choose to be negative, we can choose to be fearful, or we can choose to hold space and be unconditional and walk within our own truth.
Beautiful, beautiful words. Patti Conklin's new book, God Within, The Day God's Train Stopped, is available on Amazon, and you can find out more about Patti's work, including her connection to the X-Files, on PattiConklin.com. That's PattiConklin.com. Thank you so much, Patti, for joining us. I'm going to go sit down and think about what color and what words are gumming me up now. So I appreciate your teaching and everything that you share.
Thank you so much, Karen.
Healing is as simple as changing your vibration and shifting your alignment. But even though it's simple, it's not always that easy. Everything in the universe has a frequency. Quantum physics goes hand in hand with metaphysics, even though we're taught that the two are separate. We are all made up of particles which vibrate, and those particles were created by Source, God or Goddess, if you will, which is greater than the sum total of us as humans. We are in a powerful time of shift and change. I believe that we're on the leading edge of understanding healing because we have to be if we're going to create something different in the world. If our old thoughts and patterns of behaviors, traumas and wounds, and the old experiences of generations that have come before us are influencing what we create in the world and in our bodies, we have to change the energy from which we are creating. Right now, in your current life, your soul is occupying a physical story, a story or a collection of earth archetypes that you embody, I believe, for the sake of clearing these archetypes on the planet. If we are standing on the cusp of a new era of sustainable peace and sustainable resources, a creative revolution of the likes which we may never have seen before on the planet, we have to create from the highest possible expression of our human potential. And we have to create with faith. It is faith that helps us transcend the limitations of what our human minds believe is possible and helps us harness our ability to find elegant solutions to the challenges facing us personally and the challenges facing humanity. If you want to change your reality, you have to start first by changing your perception of reality. And to change your perception, you have to first remove the things that are clouding your vision of what's possible. You have to change the old junk stored in your energy blueprint. Clearing your energy, shifting your vibration, and aligning with your potential are the most important things you can be doing for yourself and for the world right now. If you want to learn more about your unique energy blueprint, your human design, please visit our Quantum Conversations Facebook page. And while you're there, get a free copy of your personal energy blueprint and your report to help you discover the life you were created to live. I'm Karen Curry Parker. Thank you for joining me for this quantum conversation. And here's a gentle reminder. The human energy blueprint has nothing in it that says we are configured to suffer. Suffering is unnatural. You're designed to be vital, abundant, and joyful. May you find your unique path to creating a truly meaningful life.
Thanks for listening to Quantum Conversations with Karen Curry Parker. For more information, visit joyfulmission.com.